We are here to preview El Clasico, the big game this Saturday evening. Of course, Real Madrid v Barcelona, a feast of football, Kristen, but it might not be the most exciting El Clasico of all time. The stakes aren't quite as high as they usually are. Real Madrid 10 points off the top, 10 points away from Barcelona at the moment. So this game, you can't help but feel, the stakes aren't as high as they could be.
Yeah, Real Madrid are fighting for the intangibles in this one. They're fighting for pride, and more than anything, and also perhaps the opportunity to build themselves a platform for next season under Zidane, because as you alluded to there, they're too far off the pace to really catch Barcelona in the league. So at that point, it becomes all about, again, those bragging rights, which, again, they haven't even had those recently, unfortunately, for Madrid fans.
Of course, they want to finish above Atletico as well, so 3 points here could definitely help them do that. You mentioned Zidane there. How have things changed since he's come to the club? Because obviously they're undefeated in March at the moment. I think they've scored 16 goals in their last 5 games this month. So things are looking good for them. They're in good form going into this one.
I think they're more confident as a team as well. They seem more assured about themselves. They're a counter-attacking team that, again, I think have performed well with Zidane because he understands what it means to be part of that football club in a way that, unfortunately, Rafa Benitez just couldn't. And you look at that with the fact also that, again, I think you're starting to get the best out of BBC. It's difficult to even kind of talk about them without referencing MSN in the same breath and how sensational they are, because I still think there could be improvements for that trio of Bale, Benzema and Cristiano Ronaldo.
That is the exciting thing for the neutral in this game, that we're going to have Messi, Neymar, Suarez, Bale, Benzema are back in this team alongside Ronaldo, of course. Do you think maybe that what could make a difference is that Bale and Benzema obviously weren't used in the international break for differing reasons, but they're going to be back maybe fresh, whereas the MSN, as you mentioned there, they've been on international duty in South America, where have you, so they could be a little bit more jaded. Maybe Madrid's front line could be a bit more fresh.
That will certainly play a small part, I think, in proceedings. I think you'd have to look further back, really, to try and find the deciders in this one, realistically. Certainly, the lack of assists compared to MSN is a concern for that trio of BBC, because they're not doing as much in the league. I think all three of them haven't broken double figures for assists, whereas all three of MSN have. So it shows a bit more of a fluency amongst the team. But as I said there before, for me, I think you look at, say, the Marcelo-Dani Alves battle. I also think you look at Casemiro. That could be a more influential aspect of this game in the wider picture.
It's interesting to compare Bale, obviously coming back from injury in the last few weeks, and of course Neymar. Now, these were players who, they both moved to their respective clubs at the same time. Things have got somewhat differently for the two of them. Bale's obviously had his injury problems, although his first season was exceptional at Real Madrid, you would say. Do you think it's an interesting comparison to make because of the trajectory of Neymar at Barcelona, obviously winning everything in sight, whereas Bale, things have maybe not gone as smoothly?
I think what you could say about the two of them, especially tactically, is that they typify the respective clubs' transfer policies in the sense that Barcelona don't spend exorbitant amounts very often. They do it, but I would argue with a much more considered approach. And in the case of Neymar, they knew exactly what they wanted him to do and what they wanted him to bring to that team before he even touched down in the country. Whereas for Gareth Bale, there was always a feeling, and we've talked about this with Vitaly and the Galacticos channel, that actually for them, it's more about finding the shiniest item in the shop rather than the one that you actually need in the house.
I think so. It's going to be interesting to see where they go next season as well. There's all these rumours about Ronaldo possibly moving on, whether Gareth Bale could be that main man, but that remains to be seen. For now, though, I think you mentioned it there, Casemiro. It's going to be interesting to see how Madrid line up in midfield. You'd think Zidane is going to prefer Casemiro over, say, Isco or James Rodriguez in that sort of role.
Yeah, he needs that. I think if you look at the numbers, Casemiro is the best defensively. I think if you then compare him to Modric, who completes the most kind of take-ons or successful take-ons of him, Kroos and Casemiro, it's finding that balance. You look at the Barcelona midfield, again, it embodies that balance. It's perfect in that sense. That's what so many teams aspire to. And for a good portion of the recent history, I would say it's what Real Madrid have lacked across the team. But by operating with Casemiro, with Modric, with Kroos, you do have it to a slightly more improved degree, I would say, because no players attempted more passes in La Liga than Kroos. So again, it's not just who brings what to the team, it's how does that work with those around them. And for Casemiro to be able to sit deep and essentially break things up, give them a bit of energy, a bit of oil to the engine, if you will, then I think that's going to be important for them.
you have to say for Barcelona, things are looking very good. They're undefeated in all competitions in 39 games, which is absolutely ridiculous, of course. Even if they lose this game and Atletico win on the weekend, there's still a 6-point gap. So, again, like I said, the stakes aren't massive. And Barcelona, they're in a pretty rosy position at the top of the table.
I think what you could definitely say is the team that's the most successful arguably has the most to lose, in the sense that we talk about that pride dynamic with them and Real Madrid. That is going to be important for them as well, because they want to finish that season on a high, and it's maintaining that momentum more than anything. Often we define teams by how they respond to a loss or a defeat or even a bump in the road just in general, be it with injury or suspension. For Barcelona, I would say we haven't necessarily seen that yet, because of that huge record that you talk about. So for them, they won't want the momentum to stop because they know they have big games coming up across all competitions.
What about Real Madrid then? Obviously, they're still in the Champions League. Somewhat favourable tie against Wolfsburg, some may say. But in terms of the league, it has been a disappointing season for them. And even if you look further back, it looks like Barcelona are going to win the title. Real Madrid have only won one in the last 9-10 years, which is, not good enough, really.
It's not, and again, I'm sure that Real Madrid fans will point to La Decima and how important that was for them. To a degree, I think that removed a burden, but it also points to the fact that they haven't done enough domestically. And this is part of the problem, is that at the start of the season, we saw Rafa Benitez come in, and there was a thought at least that, okay, now they have a plan, now they have a structure.
Yeah.
But even with the manager, we looked at a similar situation to the one that we talked about with Bale, where you question actually how much diligence was done about him and what he would bring to the situation, because again, you could use a sledgehammer to crack an egg, but it doesn't mean it's the right tool.
I like it. Nice metaphor. Come on, give me a score prediction for this game then. Barcelona versus Real Madrid. What do you say?
I think Barcelona win it 2-0. I think it's a fairly comfortable one. I think if they go down early, I think Real Madrid will shut down and just try to contain.
I'm going to go for 2-2 because I think Real Madrid are on good form. Barcelona are obviously on incredible form, unbeaten in 39 games, but I think 2-2, entertaining draw. I'm going to go for, but it should be a very entertaining match anyway. I think it's going to be nice to see the Johan Cruyff tribute that's going on the 14th minute, of course. So it should be a fantastic game. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let us know your score predictions in the comments below. Chris, thank you very much for joining us.
Cheers.
And we'll see you later. Do a Lawrence. Woo.